Hey YouTube, this is Nashtaters. Welcome to another episode of War of the Visions. Today, as promised, I really want to make a video talking about should you or should you not summon for Vinera and Dario. Let's get into it. Alright, so questions folks ask constantly is should you save or should you summon? Now, everyone knows by now that Vinera is coming. She's coming to our banners on Wednesday morning. Now, I have a lot prepared for this video, actually, believe it or not. Alright, so first thing I want to talk about really with Vinera is she is an assassin, main job. And that's the first time we're getting this job. So that right there is really exciting. And on top of it, she also has a sub job of dual gunner. So a lot of us perhaps don't have Lucia. This will be an opportunity for us to have another shot at a unit that has dual gunner. First off, let's talk about the really good things about this unit. She is absolutely sensationally well designed. She is gorgeous. Look at her. She has swords in her hair. That's first foremost. If you haven't noticed, she has swords in her hair. We also clearly can tell by looking at her, well, her assets, right? She's got some nice ones there. Long legs. And then the way the dress is designed, it kind of reminds me of this ancient Chinese, like those chi pao, as they would call it. It's like one of those dresses, the ancient Chinese dresses, you know. And she just looks so sexy in it. And on top of it, as soon as you turn around from this femme fatale, boom, she stabs you in the back, kills you, and says, "I did my job." She is a very solid dark attacker. Looking at her limit burst, she does 3-hit large to target and chance of inflicting poison. Now this is really good against tanks, right? Because tanks have a lot of hit points, and poisons is a really solid way to start reducing some of that damage. But here is the bread and butter of why she's one of the best attackers in the game. Now, I rarely use the word best, because I don't like to classify units in this game as best. And the other thing is, of course, there are no such thing as a unit that ends all be all for you, right? There's no unit that's going to carry you for the rest of the longevity of this game, etc., etc. Sometimes I emphasize on words like synergy, chemistry, and this is a team sport, right? Everyone is figuring out this is a team sport. There is currently no design of single unit PvP or take one unit and kind of just tear through the game. With all that said, let's go back and finish talking about Armor Cleaver. Armor Cleaver lowers target defense for 3 turns, then deals large damage. Now there's 2 things I noticed when I first read this skill at work. 1, it lowers defense first and then deals massive amount of damage. Currently, I don't think there's a unit that can do this. There's lots of units such as Rain and other knight classes where they can lower enemy defenses and attack and magic. But they do the damage first and then the effect triggers. So this is kind of unique in that sense. Now, for those of you who've perhaps seen another skill that can do this, please let me know. But I strongly don't believe there's another skill like this. The other thing I noticed was it has a range height difference of 2. The next thing about her is the fact that she is very evasive. She has very, very good evade. And a lot of people want to get her because she's, I guess some people would say, the better version of Keaton. Alright, let's talk about the bad things. I wouldn't say bad things, but perhaps a little bit of negative things about Vinera. First and foremost, there are already too many dark attackers. I did a review video on Shadowlings, as many other content creators on this game have as well. She has high praise. Shadowlings has super high praise, right? And then of course there's Stern, there's Ryu, and there's the free unit that we got if you were lucky enough to get him. Afgharion. These are all solid dark attackers in the game. And chances are, you as a free-to-play player, perhaps already built one of those. So you have spent a lot of resources developing one of those characters. Now, other thing is, yes, she is evasive, but we already have 2 evasive units. We have Shadowlings and we have Kiton. Now, it may be tempting to get the third one and just put them all together and send them out to battle. That wouldn't really work too well in terms of perhaps PvP. Because one, you just simply don't have enough items, cards, and etc. to build 3 solid evasive units. And if you were to do that, perhaps you will lack some damage. The last thing I want to talk about, which is probably the most important aspect, is can you afford her? So what ends up happening is, let's say you get the unit after you spend 20,000 gems. Literally on the last pull. Now you're completely out of gems. Now you don't have gems to build this unit. She's just going to be sitting there. And even with the 4,500 gems we're going to be getting in the next 10 days, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything for her. You still need rainbow fragments of thoughts. You still need rainbow spheres, which seemingly to be a lot easier to get nowadays. But perhaps you have to open up your wallet. That's a possibility. And like I said, she's not the end of all be-all attacker. So she's not going to be that unit that's really going to just jump on your team and kind of make you clear content that you couldn't clear before. For those of you that have been following me, know that I place heavy emphasis on supporting units and tanky units. So personally for me, I will gladly save a lot of my resources to get support units and tanky units because they age well over time. Vinera may be pretty, may be attractive, but like all things in life, she will age. And perhaps she will start dipping heavily in terms of power over time. I recently jumped back into the Alchemist Code, and I noticed that many of the units that I played with about a year and a half ago are all now low tiered. Because that is a game where it is purely designed on the idea of mudflation or power creep. They keep releasing brand new units, and all the units that I had that were considered quote-unquote SS tier, etc., are now in the C tier or the B tier. Because attackers definitely decrease in return. But some of the supporting units in that game that I used to have still stayed in the S tier, perhaps SS tier. Now, it's clear that Alchemist Code is not War of the Visions. However, it is made by Gumi, and Final Fantasy tend to have that problem on Brave Exvius, from my heard anyways. That power creeping is a serious issue, and that's perhaps why a lot of players walked away from that game, myself included. Since I don't know too much about it, I won't further comment, but that was a small observation that I made myself when I was playing that game. If that trend continues on this game, most attackers will not be doing very well in the long scheme of things. For most of us who already have 5 units perhaps built for our main team, and we don't really need attackers, it's an easy pass in my opinion. And I plan to pass on her myself. Now let's talk about the other unit in this banner, and that's Dario. I'm not quite sure if it's a he or she, to be quite honest. I can actually see some boobies here, but the name sounds female, or excuse me, sounds male. But it's very hard to tell. I think it's a female. All the different websites I went to, it doesn't say. So I think it's a female. She's very slim. Not that I'm being, stereotyping or anything, but I do see little boobies here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a she. If you know for a fact, please put that in the comment section below. Tell me if it's a he or she. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's she, okay? Or a her. So please do not jump on me about proper pronouns, etc., etc. It's a video game. I try not to inject, politics and whatnot into my content. But let's just go forward with that. Now, Dario, from what I studied, is a solid tank. And some people are trying to say that she is the best tank for the MR class. I don't want to go as far as to say that, I'll be honest. Because, again, there is no such thing as best. Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in this game. One, she is a wind unit. Mont is clearly demonstrated as a super solid tank, but he's also weak to many things in the game, being an earth tank. So, units that can target her specific element are going to have an easier time taking her down. She has a lot of flexibility because she can do a lot of magical damage, and she can take a lot of hits from the physical aspect. So she could be actually very useful in terms of doing damage and taking physical damage. Just be mindful, if you're going to build her to do a lot of damage, as her skills suggest in terms of magic, you're going to have to raise her faith, therefore exposing her to taking a lot of damage from magic damagers. So that's something to keep in mind. And to throw everything into the mix would be Tyrell. Loving Little Shield. Now, Loving Little Shield Tyrell is a free unit of this banner, which explains why we're getting those quests that we can do to open up a lot of free items. Again, with all free units in this game, always try to get all the shards for them. And even if you don't end up leveling or building the unit, he looks amazing. I love shoulder pads. For some weird reason, whenever I play video games, I love the design of big shoulder pads. When I used to play World of Warcraft, that was actually my biggest attraction, was the fact that you can have really nice shoulder pads. And they always were well designed. And this one is well designed as well. He looks pretty cool. And I think maybe the shorts isn't so attractive. Because why would you go to combat with shorts on? That's beyond me, you know. But end of the day, the shoulders is what did it for me. And so for sure, highly go after this unit because he is actually free. Alright, I think that's all the time I have for this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you all for continued support of this channel. Do you agree with some of the comments I made? Maybe perhaps you disagree. Whatever the case is, put your own opinion in the comment section below as well. Now, if you do decide that you are going to summon on this banner, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you do get the unit that you're hoping for. And as always, take care of yourself and all your loved ones. Nashtaters out.